What is up, guys? It's the John Gasm coming at you today with another episode of Secrets of Cinema. Something I want to address before I get started is last time I wore this shirt in a video was the Simpsons conspiracy theory video. It was on that video that somebody commented saying, "Give your baby sister her shirt back." I just wanted to take the time to respond to that guy and say, hey man, I don't even have a baby sister. This shirt's all mine, it's just way too tight. Anyway, moving on, today we are going to be talking about the highest grossing movie of 2010. We are going to be talking about the first animated film to have ever made over $1 billion in the worldwide box office. The first Pixar film to have ever been in IMAX, featuring a screenplay that took over 2.5 years to write, and at 102 minutes, the longest film in its trilogy, Toy Story 3. You know what's kind of crazy is despite all of those achievements I just listed, Toy Story 3 is the only movie in the trilogy to not receive a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. However, it still did receive a relatively high score of 99%, so I guess you could say it's at least watchable. Something that I've talked about a couple of times in Secrets of Cinema episodes is that movies will sometimes originally start out with a completely different storyline. The Emperor's New Groove is one example, the original Toy Story is another, and actually Toy Story 3 is yet another example. You see, back in 2004-2005, Pixar and Disney had kind of an argument and the two companies decided to split up. Because of this, Pixar was planning on releasing a couple of sequels to Disney movies only without the original Disney writers. Toy Story 3 was one of these and featured a Buzz Lightyear who malfunctioned and was boxed up and sent to Taiwan to be fixed. Somehow, Andy's Toys find out that the Buzz Lightyears aren't actually getting fixed, they're just being replaced with new toys. So in an attempt to save Buzz, they box themselves up and send themselves to Taiwan. However, despite the script already being in the process of getting written, when Disney and Pixar made up, they canned it. Apparently, one of the terms that both companies had to agree to was that neither of them would further develop any projects that had been started during their fallout. Something I read and thought was pretty cool was that in the very early development stages of Toy Story 3, the staff behind the movie sat down to look at some of their previous work from Toy Story and Toy Story 2. However, they found out that they couldn't edit or work with any of their old 3D models because the technology used to create them was not compatible with their new software. So basically, everything for Toy Story 3 had to be made from scratch. Something that I noticed when I first watched the movie, but surprisingly not everybody else did, was that the action sequence that opened up Toy Story 3 was supposed to be based off of Andy playing with his toys at the beginning of Toy Story 1. For example, there was Evil Dr. Porkchop, the Force Field Dog, the Tyrannosaur that eats Force Field Dogs, the Death by Monkeys. The only thing they added to it in Toy Story 3 was the orphans and the train. Something that's kind of small but I still thought was really funny was that Pixar had dozens of babies audition to perform Big Baby's one line, Mama. The funny part is that the baby who won's name was Woody. John Lasseter jokes that that's the only reason why he got picked. Another really small fact was that John Lasseter, the director, actually wanted to use Lotso in the first Toy Story movie. However, the technology was not yet there to animate Lotso's fur. But he does actually appear in the first movie on a shelf in Andy's room. So if you ever watched the original Toy Story, look for it. It's right in the beginning. One thing that I thought was pretty cool was that Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, the voices of Woody and Buzz respectively, wanted to record their lines together because they thought their characters had such good chemistry on screen. Now, not all of you guys may know this, but actually in almost every animated movie, different characters' lines are always recorded separately. So Tom Hanks and Tim Allen wanting to record their lines together was actually kind of an unusual process, but they did do it. You know the scene in the movie where all of the toys escape from Sunnyside Daycare? It's like this really elaborate, almost prison escape. Well, actually, to serve as inspiration, the Pixar staff actually did watch numerous prison movies to write the escape. I have a couple of Easter eggs for you guys. The Pizza Planet delivery truck, which is featured in every Pixar film, is actually the truck that Lotso and his friends use to hitch a ride back to their owner. That was all in a flashback sequence. And of course we have the A113 reference that's in every Pixar movie. Only in this one it wasn't done in a new creative way, it was done in the actually same way that it was in the past two Toy Story movies, just put on Andy's mom's license plate. Now I said it's not creative and new, but it is still kind of cool that they threw it in this one as well. Do you guys remember how there's that scene where Buzz turns Spanish and then him and Jessie start flamenco dancing because he falls in love with her? Well, actually, the song that they flamenco dance to is the Spanish version of You've Got a Friend in Me. Now, I can't actually show you guys the song in this video because of copyright reasons, but when you're done watching, just go watch the movie and look for it. Something that I thought was both cool and kind of funny is that the Ken doll featured in Toy Story 3 is actually based on the 1988 Animal Lovin' Ken doll. Now I don't know about you guys, but I was actually really disappointed that Bo Peep wasn't in this movie. And I could never really figure out why they didn't include her. However, there actually is a somewhat logical reason. Bo Peep is completely made of porcelain. It is because of that if she were to be included in the incinerator scene, to make it more realistic, she would have had to have melted. So instead of doing that and scarring children forever, the Pixar team decided to just not include her at all. Even though that was a bit of a nostalgia missing for me, it was fine. I'm over it now. The scene where Baby Doll picks up Lotso and tosses him into the dumpster is actually a reference to Star Wars. Spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen Star Wars, what's wrong with you? It references the scene where Darth Vader picks up Emperor Palpatine and throws him down that shaft in the Death Star. And as it turns out, there are also Star Wars references in the previous Toy Story movies, which I didn't know about. The first is in Toy Story, where Sid asks Woody menacingly, "Where are your rebel friends now?" That line was actually spoken by Grand Moff Tarkin when talking to Princess Leia in Episode 4. In Toy Story 2, Zurg reveals that he is Buzz Lightyear's father, which, if you haven't seen Star Wars and don't know, Darth Vader reveals the same fact to Luke in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. So basically, Disney was using Star Wars material back before they even owned the franchise. Now the last fact I've got for you guys is a very sentimental one and tugs at my heartstrings. In the last scene of the movie, Andy is playing with his toys one final time before he gives them to that little girl and leaves for college. In the very last shot of the film, the camera pans away from Andy and Bonnie and shows the audience a beautiful blue sky with white clouds. This is actually a reference to the very first frame of the original Toy Story movie, which was a blue sky and white cloud wallpaper in Andy's room. So if you want to interpret that, you can basically say that those two shots serve as bookends for the film trilogy. And that, you guys, is the last fact that I am going to share with you guys about one of the greatest trilogies ever made. Thank you so much for watching. It has been very fun talking with you guys for the past couple of weeks about some of my favorite movies of all time. But the fun does not stop there. Feel free to comment some suggestions in the comment section down below for what you want me to talk about in the next episode of Secrets of Cinema. In addition to that, you can also rate me with a big fat thumbs up and subscribe if you want to. And as always, if you want to prove your dedication, feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and like my Facebook fan page. Those are great ways to keep in touch with me when I'm not making videos. You can also use those sites to suggest future episodes of Secrets of Cinema and conspiracy theories. Well, that's basically all I've got for you guys today. So once more, thank you so much for watching. I love every single one of you. Stay beautiful, stay awesome, and stay fresh.